What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman as we are live here talking about the latest around Brian Flores as he talked to the media today. We got some big-time news regarding his future in Minnesota. But speaking about Brian Flores, if you guys want Flo to stay in Minnesota, just hit me with a SKOL down below in the comments section. This is definitely the hottest topic of conversation around Vikings fans right now, as Flores, obviously, he's one of the best defensive coordinators in the league, and his contract is done with the Minnesota Vikings the day after the season ends. So we will see what happens. But if you guys could, give me a SKOL down below. We got Lynn in the building, Mr. Beam in the house. Shout out to you, Goku in the building as well. Marcos, Braxton, Caleb Hammer saying Vikings need to get Diggs. SKOL. Yeah, Trayvon Diggs was cut today. By the Dallas Cowboys, which is a bit of a shocker, but there are reports out there suggesting that he will want to go play for a contender. As people are saying, what are you going to flip-flop on today? Hey, it's not my fault that the Vikings are the most up-and-down team in National Football League history. I think that's so funny, the whole flip-flopping narrative. I mean, it's not even just me. I see other Vikings YouTubers getting it. Hey, why are you flip-flopping your take on J.J. McCarthy? Why are you flip-flopping your take on the Minnesota Vikings? They flip-flop. They change who they are every single week, and it's just pretty funny the way you guys kind of get on some people in the comments section. But it's all fun. Shout out to you guys. Lightwood in the building. Jesse Darby, what's going on? Braxton in the house. But this is what Flores had to say during his press conference today, saying there has been a lot of talk on my personal situation and next year. Look, I've said this many times. I've loved my time here in Minnesota. My family loves it. The state of Minnesota has been tremendous to me. KO, Kevin O'Connell, mentioned there has been great dialogue, and there has. We will let the club and my representation handle the rest. So the only concern here I have is Flores, and he was talking in present past tense. Like, it's not like he was saying like it was an exit speech and he was saying, hey, I've loved my time here in Minnesota. They've been great to me. It was just saying I have loved my time here in Minnesota. So even like the loved is past tense could be, taken in a certain way, but I think it was a present past tense. I don't think it was exactly him saying, he's done after this season. But we'll see what happens. Obviously, Vikings should do whatever they can to keep Flores in Minnesota, and we'll talk about that on our first segment today. But let me know what you guys think about this one. Should J.J. McCarthy play this week? Obviously, he's still dealing with that fracture, hairline fracture in his hand, and Kevin O'Connell left the door open to him playing this week against the Green Bay Packers. Now, I think he should play. If he is 100% healthy, he should play. But also, if he can't fully grip that football, I would probably just leave him out, because I don't really think the Vikings are going to be able to change their opinions on J.J. but one more good game or one more bad game. Like, if J.J. goes out there and he has a good game, I don't think that's like the stamping where it's like, oh, the Vikings fully view him as a franchise quarterback for next season. But also, if he has a bad game, I don't think that's going to be like the Vikings hit the panic alarm and be like, oh, we need to go get a franchise quarterback. We need to go get a guy. So I would play him if he is 100% healthy. But again, I don't think it's that big of a deal if he doesn't play. I would be cool with him just resting up. I mean, clearly this guy is, injury prone at this time of his career. Now, obviously that can change, but we'll see what happens. You guys, let me know your thoughts down below. Should the Vikings play J.J. McCarthy this week? But coming up on today's show, we got a double mailbag for you guys. Taking the next 4 days off for the holidays. New Year's is here, so we'll be doing 2 mailbags. So if you guys could get those questions in there, hashtag Vikings, 2 mailbags coming up. So make sure you guys get whatever you want to have your thoughts out on screen about the Minnesota Vikings. Get them in the comments section, or you guys can super chat, help support us, help support producer Dylan and I, and we would greatly appreciate it. But we will talk about some changes the Vikings can make. Obviously, with 2026 just around the corner, I want to go over some New Year resolutions for the Minnesota Vikings and 5 things they can do next football season. And we'll talk about what Brian Flores had to say today at his press conference. Also connected back to a Mike Florio report. I want to dive back into those quotes because after looking into it, I think Flores' camp might have fed some information to Mike Florio about him potentially, or about the Vikings potentially not wanting him back, and I think that's coming straight from Flores' agent. So we'll talk about that, and also, like I said, 2 mailbags. So hashtag Vikings, get them down below. Shout out to Mike Nintendo for already getting a question in there. But if you guys could, hashtag Vikings, whatever you have to say down below in the live chat, get those questions in there. If it's about Flores, J.J. McCarthy, anything around the Minnesota Vikings, that looks sick. Please get those questions in there. I would greatly appreciate it. But if you guys are ready to rock and roll, hit that thumbs up icon. We got 125 people in the building. Let's see if we can get to 25 likes and we can start today's show. Big O saying, can we extend him after his contract is up? 100%. You can extend Flores right now if you would like. So hopefully they're able to get that done. But I think we will see the gamesmanship of the NFL offseason like we always do, where I'm sure the Cowboys and other teams will offer Flores a contract. He'll come back to the Minnesota Vikings saying, hey, can you guys match this? And if they can, I fully expect Flores to stay in Minnesota. But again, if he gets a head coaching job, fully expect Flores to leave. And that's just kind of the reality of the NFL when you have an elite coordinator who I really do believe that Flores will make a good head coach in the future. As Marco's saying, last stream of 2025. Thank God. It's been a rough 2025 for the Vikings, like dating back to the Week 18 game against the Lions. Then obviously, playoff game against the Rams, that was a disaster, and this season has just been a disaster as well. But Connor Vikings in the building, what's going on? Jesse Darby saying, hey, just remember this Caleb Williams last year stunk. Look where he took him this year. We got to have patience with JJ. I'm with you. Like Mike Nintendo, thanks for getting another question in there. But let's dive into it. We'll talk about 5 New Year's resolutions for your Minnesota Vikings. D1 NFL prods. Let's actually just get that super chat here, and then we'll dive into the show. Shout out to D1 NFL prods in the building. Mr. Rick Story saying, if Flores leaves, do you think Harrison Smith could retire and be a defensive coach? Not a bad thought. If you want to ask that and put hashtag Vikings, we'll talk about that during the mailbag. As Big O saying, you guys should make an NHL Chat Sports channel. How about the Minnesota Wild? After that trade for Hughes, they have been on a heater. I think they've had points in their last 10 of 11 games I saw. So shout out to the Minnesota Wild. I'm unfortunately a Chicago Blackhawks fan, so they have been having a rough year ever since Connor Bedard got hurt. But shout out to Ghost for getting a question in there. Same with Ben and Mike Nintendo yet again. Shout out to you guys. We'll talk about the changes the Vikings can make for 2026 here in just a second. But D1 NFL Productions coming with a $5 super chat. Appreciate you. If everybody could, show D1 some love. Give me those SKOL D1s down below. Do the Canes, not the Wild. I don't know if we'll ever get to a point where we're doing NHL content, but you never know. But D1 NFL Prods, what's going on? Saying the problem is if we start McCarthy next year and it turns out bad, that Jefferson is going to be wearing a different color next year. That's a great point. I'll save my full thoughts for this on a mailbag, but I do really appreciate this question. That's a good one because that's, a conversation that the Vikings are going to have to address this offseason, and that's definitely playing a big factor into that. So we'll talk about that, but coming up, 2 mailbags, Brian Flores, and changes the Vikings can make. We'd appreciate it if you guys could. Hit that thumbs up icon. Need 3 more likes, and then we'll dive into today's show. But shout out to Corey, Tanner, Big O, Mike Nintendo. If you guys are ready to rock and roll, give me those SKOLs down below in the comments section. And let's dive into 5 New Year's resolutions for the Minnesota Vikings. What's going on, everybody? Welcome in the Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman, and coming up on today's show with 2026 here, I want to go over 5 New Year's resolutions for your Minnesota Vikings. Having some fun on today's show and just go over some changes that the Vikings need to make starting this offseason. We're going to start off with the quarterback position. And the number 1 New Year's resolution I think the Vikings need to make is valuing the backup quarterback position, because obviously the Vikings did not value it this past offseason. I mean, they brought in Sam Howell, traded him on draft night, or they traded for Sam Howell on draft night, then they traded him to the Eagles, and they signed Carson Wentz. Clearly, they did not value the backup quarterback position. And I think the biggest reason why the Vikings will miss the playoffs is because of the decision to not value the backup quarterback position this offseason. Now, if the Vikings were, let's just say, for example, 3-4 games out of the playoffs, I think this would be a ludicrous thing to say, but since they're pretty much going to miss the playoffs by a half a game, I think this is the biggest reason why we're in the spot we are right now. Because if you would have brought in Joe Flacco, if you would have brought in Mac Jones, we would have been seeing playoff football here in Minnesota. And this game, this upcoming week, this should be for the 7th seed in the NFC. It makes me sick to my stomach that it's not, because you have this, in my opinion, Super Bowl caliber defense playing some of their best ball of the season. The fact that they aren't taking this group into the playoffs where they can just play, obviously I don't think even if the Vikings had a Joe Flacco or Mac Jones that they want to be a Super Bowl contender, but they could definitely wreck some dreams in the playoffs with how good this defense is playing. So this game, this should be for the 7th seed in the conference. Like, I just think about all those tough losses this year, like the Bears loss, Devin Duvernay taking that kickback, like even the Ravens game when you're leading at halftime, you smoke that game away. Like, there are so many losses this year where I'm just looking at this Vikings team. I'm like, if you just played one more better game or one more better quarter, we're probably talking about some playoff football here in Minnesota. But who are some guys that the Vikings can sign? Here are the top 5, in my opinion. I think the number 1 backup quarterback out there will be Marcus Mariota. In terms of veteran backup, you also got a guy like Aaron Rodgers, which I'll tell you this. If the Steelers lose to the Ravens this upcoming Sunday night, Aaron Rodgers, I don't know if he's going to want to go out like that. I could see him being possibly QB1 in Minnesota next season. We'll talk about that a whole lot this offseason. We also got a guy like Joe Flacco. You got a former Minnesota Viking in Case Keenum. And you also got a guy like Daniel Jones. Like, I think Daniel Jones would be interesting to me because he could come in, rehab from his torn Achilles and that broken leg he has, and then he could potentially be a starter if the Vikings need it, if McCarthy were to get hurt next season. But all of these guys, besides Rodgers, would just be high-end backups, and that's what the Vikings need. So number 1 New Year's resolution for the Vikes, value the backup quarterback position. But number 2, how about we go be ahead of league trends here? This has been the one thing with the Vikings, and the one thing that's really a head-scratcher for me is that Kevin O'Connell doesn't stay ahead of league trends because his mentor, the tree he came from, Sean McVay, he always stays ahead of trends. And I am envious of Rams fans because you have a head coach, whatever that new trend is going to be, Sean McVay, he knows what it's going to be. And the new trend this year was his usage of 13 personnel, using 3 tight ends. It was massive this season for the Los Angeles Rams offense. So obviously, them coming off a bad loss against the Falcons last night, they didn't really have too much to play for. So I'm not going to look too much into that loss. But they have been fantastic this season out of 13 personnel. And, they've been doing this since the beginning of the year. This wasn't like something they have just kind of started using over the last couple of months. This is something that the Rams have been going to since the start of the season. But the Vikings, they were late to the trend. Like Kevin O'Connell, he loves 11 personnel. And Sean McVay used to love 11 personnel. Like he always said, especially when they won that one Super Bowl, it was OBJ, Cooper Kupp, whoever that other wide receiver 3 was, and they were very successful out of 11. But you see here, 2.82% out of 13. Well, Sean McVay and that Rams offense, they run 13 personnel around a quarter of their plays, around 26% of the time right now as we're recording this video. So clearly KOC was not with the league trends or even 12 personnel. Why pay Josh Oliver? You got one of the best run-blocking tight ends in the league. You should go the multiple tight end sets a whole lot more. And also the numbers suggest you should. This is the EPA per dropback breakdown for the Vikings personnel usage. Out of 11, they're one of the worst in the NFL. A negative 68.4 rate. 12, not too good. 21, not too good. 22, not too good. But 13, you're in the positive. Now, a lot of this has to do with the Vikings just not being a good offense this year. So most of their EPA per play stats are going to be in the negative. They're one of the worst in the league. You just got to be better than what you were. So I'll ask you guys this. Grade Kevin O'Connell as the Vikings head coach this season. Not last year when he won Coach of the Year. Not 2022 or 2023 where he was clearly one of the better head coaches in the league. Just for this season, grade Kevin O'Connell as the Vikings head coach. Give me an A, B, C, D, or F. All right, number 3 here. It's going to be let Justin Jefferson dominate. I miss him. I feel like Justin Jefferson. We haven't gotten that prime Jettas in so long. So number 3 for me, let number 18 cook because we cannot have another year where Jefferson puts up these numbers. I mean, he is going to be scratching and clawing to get to 1,000 yards. I fully expect the Vikings, though, this weekend against the Packers to do whatever they can to get Jefferson to 1,000 yards. But him averaging 59 yards per game, this is a guy heading into the season that was averaging 97 yards per game. The man's got 2 touchdowns. That can't happen again. Now, I will say, if I want to take a silver lining, if I want to take a positive of Justin Jefferson having this down year, by his standards, this year has been a disaster for number 18. I think Jefferson is going to come back next year better than ever. I think the version we will get in 2026 of Justin Jefferson, it will be better than 2022. It will be better than 2024. I think this man is going to be a one-man wrecking crew at the wide receiver position because he hears all the noise. When you ask the common NFL fan right now, go ask your buddies who aren't Vikings fans, who's the best wide receiver in the league? Give me your top 3 wide receivers in the league. We had people saying George Pickens was better than him a month ago, 5 weeks ago. Jefferson hears all this noise. He's going to take this personally. He's going to get in the lab this offseason. I promise you, Jefferson, big years coming for number 18 in 2026. Excuse me, now number 4 for me. You got to add talent to the secondary. There was no doubt about it that this secondary has, definitely struggled. this season, and I think your two starting cornerbacks are the most to blame for this. Like Byron Murphy, he's been a lot better as of late. Finally getting some takeaways, finally intercepting the football. Like Isaiah Rodgers, if you take out that one Bengals game, he hasn't really lived up to the contract the Vikings have given him, this offseason. Even though it was a cheap, team-friendly deal, you're still looking at that deal and saying maybe there could have been another guy out there that could have had a better play this season with a better contract. So Byron Murphy, he just signed a big deal this past offseason. He's got to get back to who he was. We're in 2024, 7 interceptions, making plays, being that ball hawk corner, getting sticky in coverage. The Vikings need to add talent. And also, Harrison Smith's probably done, which it makes me sad. A little side note here. This guy is one of my favorite Vikings players of all time. He is just everything you would want out of a player you drafted. He's been with this organization for almost a decade and a half. He has been absolutely fantastic. And the fact that this game on Sunday could be his last game, it kind of gets me emotional. Because this was a guy, even dating back to his days with Mike Zimmer, being that versatile safety, that hard-hitting safety, like Harry the Hitman. And the fact that he was so good on Christmas still. Harry, come back for one more year. You still got a little left in the tank. You don't need to go to training camp. You don't need to go to any off-season workouts. Show up week 1 next season, and I'm sure the Vikings and Brian Flores can make it work out. But, hey, this is one of the best safeties of all time. I think he should have his name thrown in there when you're talking about some of the best safeties from the 2010s on of Troy Polamalu, Ed Reed, Harrison Smith. Maybe he's not to the level of those guys, but he is right there with them. So if you guys want to show Harry the Hitman some love, give me those 2 twos down below in the comment section. Show one of the best to ever do it. Your support down below. I'll get to my last New Year's resolution for the Vikings here in a second. But if you guys want to get a new Minnesota Vikings hoodie, just head over to chatsports.com/Vikings hoodie. Some of these are up to 50% off right now. So click that link in the comment section and description of today's show. Just click it. Check them out. They got some great deals out there. I love this design and this one as well. So if you guys could, chatsports.com/Vikings hoodie. We'll have that link for you guys in the comment section and description of today's show. All right, the last New Year's resolution for the Vikings, and it's a little anticlimactic because we have been saying this since Kevin O'Connell has taken over as the head coach of this football team. Be a more physical football team. Because this team, I thought with J.J. McCarthy being the starting quarterback, they were going to be more run first. Because you're defensively, the Vikings, they've always been a physical football team with Brian Flores. They fly around the field, they hit hard, they are great up front, they're very versatile. They are a physical defense, but the Vikings offense has not felt physical once under Kevin O'Connell. I've never went into a road game saying oh, the Vikings are going to be able to run all over them. Oh, the Vikings are going to be able to control the line of scrimmage. We have never felt that once. So I'm hoping next year with KOC showing some self-awareness, showing his ability to adjust his scheme, adjust, his bread and butter offensively, because I'm not saying Kevin O'Connell, he should completely change what he loves to do, which is being a drop-back passing team, but just lean more in the run. How could you lean more into the run? How do you draft one of the best running back prospects we have seen over the last decade? And that being Jeremiah Love. This guy's a stud. And with the Vikings probably going to pick around 17, 18 here in the draft, why not take a flyer on a running back? Why not? I would do it. I would take a chance on Jeremiah Love because also this draft pick, this will put pressure on Kevin O'Connell to run the football more. Because you're not going to take a guy like Jeremiah Love in the first round and not give him the football. So, be a more physical football team. Those are my 5 New Year's resolutions for the Minnesota Vikings. But you guys let me know. Your turn here. What is one change the Vikings need to make? Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Appreciate all of you guys watching. Be safe out there. And Happy New Year's to all you Vikings fans. We'll get on out of here. As always, SKOL Vikes. All right, what's going on, everybody? Appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. Harrison Smith is 37 years old. What do you think you're really going to get out of him going forward? I think Harrison Smith, you shouldn't rely on him if he does come back next season in terms of being an every down safety. Just have him be a 3rd and long safety where he can show, fake a look on the line of scrimmage, bail out in the coverage, or, just do what he does best. Because, even though he has clearly lost his step, as, he should. He's an older guy in the league right now. Just use him as kind of like a one-trick pony, kind of like what they are this year. But I was very encouraged after that Christmas game that he could potentially come back and, hopefully they're able to bring him back. But again, if you guys got a question for me, get those down below in the comments section. Hashtag Vikings or Super Chat to get up on today's show. I would greatly, greatly appreciate it if you guys could ask a question, whatever you want. Just use hashtag Vikings. Could be on the draft, free agency, Brian Flores, J.J. McCarthy, whatever you guys got. ask those questions down below. But I do want to dive into the Brian Flores segment here, probably why you guys clicked on today's live show. Brian Flores was talking about, his future in Minnesota during a recent press conference, so we'll dive into that. But it's a interesting situation right now, and hopefully the Vikings are able to retain him, because I definitely think this defense will take a massive step back if they aren't able to keep Brian Flores as the DC. So let's talk about it. Brian Flores, future in Minnesota, a little uncertain, but he addressed it today at a press conference. Brian Flores was talking about his future in Minnesota as the defensive coordinator at a recent press conference, and that's what we're going to be talking about on today's edition of Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman, and as always, I appreciate all of you guys for taking time of your day and watching today's show. So this is what Flores had to say at a press conference on Tuesday, December 30th, saying, there has been a lot of talk on my personal situation and next year. Look, I've said this many times. I've loved my time here in Minnesota. My family loves it. The state of Minnesota has been tremendous to me. KO mentioned there has been great dialogue, and there has. We will let the club and my representation handle the rest. Loved, Brian? You loved your time in Minnesota? I think he was kind of speaking here in the present past tense. I don't think this was fully him saying, like, oh, I love my time in Minnesota. I'm on the way out, though. I think that's just how he was talking. So I see a lot of people on social media being like, oh, he loved his time in Minnesota. Is he suggesting that he's going to leave? I hope not. I mean, I pray that he is not going to leave the Vikings organization, because I do have a weird feeling. And I'm not trying to be a negative Nancy. One of my actually New Year's resolutions here is to be more positive about the Minnesota Vikings. And I just have a weird feeling, though, that the Vikings are going to mess this up. I think he is going to go out. He's going to go get a contract offer from the Cowboys, from the Bengals. They're going to try to pay him big bucks. Maybe not the Bengals, because they're one of the more cheap ownership groups. But Jerry, who has been cheap in the past, if he wants one last hoorah, one last kind of, put my stamp on the Cowboys organization, it could be going out there and getting a guy like Brian Flores. But I just have a feeling that the Vikings, maybe the Wolves are going to be pretty cheap, and maybe they won't be able to bring him back. But we'll dive into more here. But you guys, some of your thoughts first. Predict it for me. Will Brian Flores be the DC next season? How are you feeling? Give me a Y for yes. Give me an N for no. You guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments section. So Alec Lewis, who was at the Vikings press conference today, shout out to Alec, tweeting this out, saying, Vikings DC, Brian Flores deflected questions today about his future, deferred to his representation, wanted the focus to be on the players and the upcoming game. Flores made clear how much he's loved being in Minnesota and with the Vikings, and would be grateful to be in head coaching discussions. And as he probably would be grateful. Like, this is a guy, even though we all want him to be the defensive coordinator, like, I would be sick to my stomach if he went and was the defensive coordinator somewhere else, because that would just be organizational malpractice by the Vikings. But if he gets a head coaching job, you kind of just got to say to yourself, Flores, you earned it. It's been one of the better defenses in the league. Now, I will say, Brian Flores, this is kind of how he talks, but vibes did sound a little low during his press conference, where I don't know if he was reflecting a little bit, but he definitely did not seem like he was certain he was going to be in Minnesota. And it kind of started to get me thinking about this Mike Florio report that came out recently, where Florio said this. He said the other factor in all of this is whether the Vikings truly want Flores back, or whether they want to create the impression that they tried to keep him. As we learned when canvassing high-level personnel with multiple teams about Flores' head coaching prospects in the coming hiring cycle, his Belichickian style hasn't always meshed with Minnesota nice. I am praying and I am hoping that this is Flores' agent talking, where Flores' agent maybe went to Mike Florio and said, hey, Mike, put out this report saying that we don't know if the Vikings are going to want him back, kind of get the juices rumbling a little bit. So I am hoping that Flores kind of shifted this to Mike Florio. Maybe the Vikings hear this report and they start to panic and they're like, all right, well, we will do whatever we can to keep Brian Flores. But the whole part about Minnesota nice, this is why the Vikings didn't hire Jim Harbaugh. Because obviously Jim Harbaugh is an out there character. He's got a lively personality. He goes against the grain. He kind of goes against what you would typically hear from a head coach. Like Kevin O'Connell was like textbook, coach talk, being a leader, like perfect there. But this is why they didn't go out in there and get Jim Harbaugh. Because all signs were indicating that Jim Harbaugh is going to be the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings. But the Wilfs they didn't necessarily love that he was more of a Belichickian style head coach, more of a dictatorship, even though I think that's a bad word for it. They didn't love how he was kind of handling himself, which kind of looks like a bad decision now from the Vikings, brass. But there's no doubt Flores is one of the better defensive coordinators in the league. Top 10 in points per game, which is honestly, even though the rest of these statistics are top 5 in the league, I think this is the best, most impressive one. Is somehow they're top 10 in scoring. Because this defense, they've been on the field more than any defense in the NFL. The Vikings run the third least amount of plays in the NFL this season. And the fact that they're top 10 in points per game, with being on a lot of short fields, with this offense just being completely inept to pick up first downs and continue drives, like that's the most impressive part. Obviously great in the red zone, great in yards per play, great in yards per game. I mean, the fact that they're top 5 in yards per game and yards per play, that's all Flores. But even more here, this was tweeted out by Alec Lewis. The Vikings' numbers since hiring Flores in 2023. You guys see 2023 when he took over a historically bad defense. Okay, they're about middle of the pack, 20th in defensive EPA rank per play. But then you saw the huge jump in 2024 going to third. Then you saw the huge jump in 2025 remaining at fourth. But then you see the DVA per play, or defensive DVOA. On the second line, they're 11th, second, and 6th. And you also see offensively, the Vikings have not been good. So you have not had an offense that have been able to go ball control. You've not been able to keep that defense, fresh and lively, but they're still producing at a high level. And the Vikings defense, there is no doubt in my mind, they will take a massive step back if Brian Flores leaves. And I don't care who you replace him. You could go get Jim Schwartz. You could go get, Jonathan Gannon, or you could go get, Jonathan Gannon. You could go get any of these guys. I still think it's going to take a step back because a lot of these guys, they excel with Flores' system. They know the system like the back of their hand. And if you bring in a new guy, whoever that defensive coordinator is, like there's no doubt that this defense will take a step back because this isn't like a Houston Texans or a Denver Broncos situation where there's just blue chippers at every level. How many blue chippers do the Vikings have? I think they potentially have some blue chippers in Jalen Redmond, in Dallas Turner. Like Grenard, I would consider a blue chipper. Van Ginkel as well, but they don't have as many blue chippers as other teams here. So there's no doubt the Vikings defense will take a massive step back if they do lose Brian Flores. But quickly, I do want to say thank you to everybody who has supported this channel all season long. I know it's been not as successful as we all would have wanted, as this was supposed to be an all-in year. You spent $350 million on the roster, but I do appreciate all of you guys for just sticking with us and, all the flip-flopping we have done on this season because the Vikings are one of the most bipolar teams in the NFL. They look great one week. They look horrible the next week. So I appreciate you guys just rocking and rolling with us this entire season. So shout out to SKOL Nation. Shout out to all the loyal viewers of this channel. Really do appreciate all the support all season long. All right, we'll talk about more on the Brian Flores situation here in a second, but today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Whether you're starting a new routine or making player picks for the first time, trying something new can be hard. But in life and on Prize Picks, it always feels good to be right. With high-pressure playoff matchups every weekend and elite hoops action almost every night, the action never stops, and Prize Picks lets you take control. So download the Prize Picks app today, plug in promo code CLNS, get hooked up with $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks now has early payouts, so if your player gets off to a hot start, you now have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. Find your community on Prize Picks. With the new social feeds feature, you can share Prize Picks with your friends and copy lineups from winners with one single click. So download the Prize Picks app today, plug in that promo code CLNS, get hooked up with $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. But shout out to Prize Picks for sponsoring today's show. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. All right, let's talk about the Cowboys situation here because there are a lot of reports out there that are suggesting that Dallas will be trying their best to go out there and acquire Brian Flores. And Mike Florio, want to dive back into this article we put out because he had this to say, saying, but one such team that is lurking is the Cowboys. Dallas seems to be destined to fire defense coordinator Matt Eberflus after a disastrous reunion year. Never mind the fact that owner/GM Jerry Jones traded the defense's best player 10 days before week 1, and the increasing chatter in league circles is that the Cowboys will be firmly in play for Flores. If Jones decides to give true credence to his periodic claim about the size of the check he'd write to win a Super Bowl, he'll put real cash on the table, which could spark a bidding war for Flores between Dallas, Minnesota, and whoever else may decide to try to hire him. And, I fully expect here a lot of teams to be aggressive in acquiring Brian Flores. With how good his scheme is, with how great he's been as the Vikings defensive coordinator with not great personnel, like there's no doubt in my mind if you're a team like Cincinnati, if you're a team like Dallas with elite, high-powered offenses and not a lot of talent defensively, if you go throw a lot of money at Flores and he's your defensive coordinator and Flores takes that unit to a top 15 level, like Stephon Gilmore said, Dallas would be a playoff contender next year with Brian Flores. There's no doubt in my mind. They can make no additions on defense, and they will still be a high-level unit. So teams will be aggressive. I will say this, though. If the Wilfs don't match any contract Flores receives as a defensive coordinator, they should be forced to sell the team. Like, if we go throughout this whole saga this offseason where Flores goes out there, he gets a massive contract offer from Dallas, from Cincinnati, and then we're sitting there as Vikings fans, and we get the report that, hey, Flores wanted to come back, but they didn't want to match any offer that Flores got from Dallas, from Cincinnati, the Wolves should sell the team. Because that is some poverty stuff out of this ownership group. And they have, they pour a lot of money into this organization, but they've also been cheap in certain spots. And I could see them getting cheap with Flores here since he doesn't fall into the Minnesota nice that we know this ownership group loves to, portray that to the rest of the NFL. So a lot is going on right now in Vikings land, but if you guys made it to the end of today's show, just hit me with a SKOL down below in the comments section. Appreciate all of you guys watching. It's been a long year, so shout out to all the real ones. Just give me a SKOL down below if you watch this entire thing. We'll get on out of here. As always, SKOL Vikes. All right, appreciate all of you guys for the support this season. It's wild times being a Vikings fan. I mean, the fact that we're going to be 9-8 probably as a 7-point favorite at home is unbelievable. Big O, great question. If Flo gets a head coaching job, do we give Zimmer the call? We could talk about that. Shout out to Uncle Paul in the building. I appreciate you saying SKOL, SKOL, SKOL. And we will be diving into 2 mailbags here. So get your questions down below. Hashtag Vikings or Super Chat. Ask whatever you want around your favorite football team. We'll talk about it all. Trayvon Diggs, Flores, anything. We'll talk about it. So just use hashtag Vikings. 2 mailbags coming up. So hashtag Vikings in the live chat or Super Chat to get up on today's show. I would love Caleb Downs. I'm with you. The highest paid team in the NFL. Yeah, $350 million. How did the Vikings beat the Packers? Appreciate you, Braxton, for getting a question in there. Well, let's talk about it. Let's dive into this mailbag here. Then we'll have another one. So if we don't get to your questions, don't worry about it. We'll do another one right after. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. All right, let's do it. Minnesota Vikings mailbag. Let's dive into it. It is mailbag time here on the channel. It is my favorite show that I do every single week where you guys ask me questions about the Minnesota Vikings, what's going on with Flores, what's going on with JJ McCarthy. We'll talk about it all on today's show. Welcome to the Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman. We're going to start off here with Purple Power, getting the first question in there saying, who is your top free agent target for the Vikings this offseason? Now, obviously, the Vikings are in a weird spot because, Vikings are right now around $36 million over the cap. So they're going to restructure a bunch of deals, probably cut a guy like TJ Hawkinson, and they may not have, obviously, as much money as they had this past offseason, but they should be able to bring in at least one guy. Like, there should be at least one main player that the Vikings could bring in. And the one guy I got my eyes on is one of the better cornerbacks in the league, and being Jamel Dean. Jamel Dean's had a great year for Tampa Bay. PFF is grading him out very well. Right now, he's a third-graded corner at 81.5 overall grade. He's actually got a perfect pass rushing grade at 99.9, which is first, but he's also got the 9th best coverage grade at 76.9. And it's also a guy that has played 661 snaps so far this season for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So that would be not my number one guy. They could go a bunch of different directions here, but I think if you had to pick one kind of position where the Vikings could spend big money on, since they cannot draft cornerbacks to save the life of them, I would go Jamel Dean, Tampa Bay Buccaneers corner. D1 NFL Prods, what's going on? Saying the problem is if we start McCarthy next year and he turns out bad, then Jefferson is going to be wearing a different color next season. And yes, you nailed it on the head with that one. I think we can all, address it where if the Vikings do, end up rolling with McCarthy, and McCarthy, doesn't play good football, he looks like an all-time bust. Yeah, Jefferson's probably going to say to himself, like, why would I want to be here? I'm in the prime of my career. Like, Jefferson's going to turn 27 years old at the start of next season. I mean, he's probably got 4 or 5 really, really good years left. Does he want to waste those? Probably not. And if the Vikings, if you're in a position where Justin Jefferson and his camp doesn't view McCarthy as the guy, like, can't you even roll out with McCarthy? Like, that's probably a huge conversation. Like, it's not only like, hey, does Kevin O'Connell believe in McCarthy, but it's also like, does Brian Flores believe in McCarthy? Does Justin Jefferson believe in McCarthy? Now, should that matter in the grand scheme of things when evaluating the quarterback position? Yes, that's really up for you to decide. But, yeah, that's going to play a factor into this offseason because if McCarthy is bad, I would fully expect the Justin Jefferson trade rumors to pick up, maybe even at the NFL trade deadline. Like, if he is horrible and he's not getting the football again because he can't have another year where he's only getting 1,000 yards. Like, he needs to be a 1,400, 1,500-yard receiver because as much as Jefferson – he says all he cares about is winning, which I fully believe him in saying that. He wants his numbers. He wants to go dominate DBs. And he hasn't really had the opportunity to do that this season. E-Man Jr., 28. What's going on, man? Saying thoughts on Trayvon. So Trayvon Diggs, as we're recording this, he was just waived by the Dallas Cowboys. Now, he very well could have been picked up by the time you guys are seeing this video. He's going to probably go sign with a playoff contender. I don't think he would sign with the Minnesota Vikings play one game against the Green Bay Packers. But like maybe this offseason, ball hawk corner in the Flores system where they feast on taking away the football, like it would make a lot of sense. Even though the Vikings, if you take out the Bengals and the Lions game on Christmas, like this team hasn't been as elite as they were back in 2024 in terms of taking the football away. But Trayvon would be a great scheme fit with Flores. I would have some interest there. Now, is he nearly the same guy he was when he had that crazy 11 interception season? No, but I think he can maybe have a little resurgence here in Minnesota. So thoughts on Trayvon? Like, he would be like an icing on the cake signing. I don't think like, hey, if you sign Trayvon Diggs, it's like, oh, that fixes your issues with the secondary. But I would have some interest in bringing in Trayvon Diggs. 612 MN to Florida saying, is Joe Burrow rumor still alive? Haven't heard anything else. I mean, the Burrow rumors really just started with him just really being almost just negative at his press conference, I think is the right word. It just kind of looked under the weather. I think Burrow's got some stuff personally going on in his life. I don't know what that is. Don't want to speculate on it. Are they still alive? TBD. He's played some great football the last couple of weeks. I think he's thrown for like 8 touchdowns, no picks over his last 2 games. So clearly Burrow still's got it. But listen, if he were to ever request a trade or any of these major quarterbacks were to request a trade, Joe Burrow and the Vikings, like the Vikings will be at the top of all those destinations that teams put out. So are they alive? Not necessarily. I hope they will be because if you have a chance to go get Joe Burrow, you go do whatever you can to land the Bengals quarterback. Mr. Rick Story coming in saying, do you think Harrison Smith could retire and ascend to the defensive coordinator immediately to replace Flores? I think that's a cool thought. I still think Harrison Smith's one of those guys where when he retires, I don't think we're going to hear from him for years. Like, I think he's going to go get a ranch in the middle of nowhere, and he's just going to kick up, put his feet up, hang out. Like, that's where I think Harrison Smith's going to go. Again, this is just speculation on my end, just kind of reading into his personality. I like the idea, though. This guy's clear as a very smart defensive player. He knows Flores' system probably been better than almost any player on this Vikings team. Maybe Andrew Van Ginkel knows him more, but, he's a smart guy. Maybe he could be like a safeties coach. I don't know if he'll ever have any interest in being a defensive coordinator, but, hey, I like the thought on paper. All right, you guys let me know your thoughts. Even though this has been a disastrous year for the Vikings, what has been your favorite memory from this season? For me personally, I think it's going to be the win in Detroit when J.J. McCarthy had that dagger throw to Jalen Naylor. That's what mine would be. But you guys let me know your thoughts. What is your favorite memory from this season? I would go the win in Detroit. Just because also, like, that moved the Vikings to 4-4. They still had a chance to obviously make the playoffs at that point. You could say on Christmas, like, knocking the Lions out of the playoffs, that would be up there. But I would probably choose to win in Detroit as a 9-point underdog. Like, that was pretty cool. All right, we'll get some more questions here in a second, but we do have some hoodies that are up to 50% off right now. Just click this link, chatsports.com/Vikings hoodie. They have a bunch of different looks, and some of these are up to 50% off right now. So click that link. We'll have that in the comments section and description of today's show. So if you guys want to rock some more Vikings gear, got a great deal going on for you guys. Chatsports.com/Vikings hoodie. Link for that will be in the comments section and description of today's show. Appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. But Marco Sports coming here with the next question saying, what are you going to do on New Year's Eve tomorrow night? For me, watching New Year's Rockin' Eve on Times Square. I'll probably do the same. Not going to do much for New Year's Eve, especially with it being on Wednesday. You guys are probably seeing this after New Year's Eve anyways, but just taking it easy. My guy Dylan, though, producer of Vikings Now, I don't know if it's confirmed, going to Ohio State, Miami. Probably. I mean, our studios are down here in Dallas, Texas. Dylan's a diehard Miami fan. So he's going to go see Miami, Ohio State. So hopefully Dylan's waking up New Year's Day with a smile on his face. And also, as a de facto Michigan guy, how awesome would it be if Miami goes and beats Ohio State and Ryan Day? That would be awesome. So I'll be watching that game. That'll be a lot of fun. But, hey, you guys let me know your plans. What you guys do on New Year's Eve? Big O, what's going on? If Flo gets a head coach job, what if we give Zimmer a call? I mean, honestly, Dylan could probably speak better to how Zimmer was his last year in Dallas, as he's shaking his head in the camera right now. Not good. I would not be a fan of Zimmer coming back. I just think the NFL kind of outdated him, where clearly his system, his scheme, like, it was great in the late 2010s. Like, that 2017 Vikings defense, we had Anthony Barr, Eric Kendricks. They would be lining up in the A-gaps. You don't know where Barr is going. You have two great edge rushers in Danielle Hunter, Everson Griffin. Harrison Smith was just a wild card of that defense. Yeah, it would be cool to have, like, the whole comeback story of Mike Zimmer, but I don't know if Mike Zimmer would want to come back to Minnesota. I think he's going to be on his ranch in Kentucky and just, putting his feet up, kicking back, and hanging out. Yeah, I'd probably be against Zimmer being the next DC if they do lose Flores. Mason, what's going on? Should we go for a new left tackle because I can't watch Justin Skule take over Christian Darisaul's backup? Yes, I am with you on that, and I will say Justin Skule has been a lot better as of late. I mean, against the New York Giants, filling in for Christian Darisaul, he had an overall PFF grade of 86.6. He did not allow a sack. He only allowed one QB pressure. He only allowed 7 sacks on the season. He's been better as of late, but I think the number one thing with the left tackle position is you just got to get Christian Darisaul healthy. This is a concern that this knee injury has been nagging him the entire season. And Darisaul, like, even when he did play, like, he was not the same guy. Like, Darisaul's awesome. I still think that contract was a good decision, but, Darisaul this year, overall PFF grade, the lowest of his career, lowest in the run blocking, second lowest in the pass blocking department. He allowed 2 sacks this season and Darisaul only played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games. And, like, one of those games against the Chargers, he only played 9 snaps, so he really only played 9 games this season. So him staying healthy is huge. But, yeah, maybe they go out and look. Maybe in the NFL draft, because also Brian O'Neill getting up there in age. Like, watch out for the Vikings taking a tackle, maybe day 2, day 3 of this year's draft. Nintendo Master, 5,500. Saying the O-line needs a lot of work. Who are some targets in the draft? I kind of disagree that the O-line needs some work with the Minnesota Vikings because, like, you got your tackles, Darisaul and O'Neal. Even though Darisaul, like we were just saying, missed a lot of time due to the injury, I fully expect him to bounce back. You got your guards. Like, even though Will Fries has been a little underwhelming, at least Fries has stayed healthy this season. I mean, he's been the only offensive lineman that's played the entire season. Obviously, some low PFF grades for Will Fries this year, 60.2 overall, 60.8 in the run block, allowing 3 sacks and 36 total pressures in most of his career. But he's been healthy. You got Donovan Jackson. Maybe the Vikings look at a center of the future in the draft. But I would rather have them look secondary in this year's upcoming NFL draft. But, Mike, appreciate your question and all the support. Braxton coming in saying, how do the Vikings beat the Packers? You score 1 touchdown. If the Vikings score 1 touchdown this weekend, they will win this football game. I promise you that. They're starting Clayton Tune most likely. Clayton Tune going against the Brian Flores defense on the road. Vikings fans will still be rocking and rolling at US Bank Stadium. How do you beat the Packers? You score 1 touchdown. I think that my score prediction for this game, I'm going to probably go low scoring. I mean, Vikes will probably be starting Brosmer. I'll go 16-9 in favor of the Vikings. If you score 1 touchdown, you'll win this game. All I want, 2 things. Flores to heat up the kitchen. Will Reichard. Can we get Will Reichard to attempt a 65-yarder? That's all I want. That's all I want out of this game. But I'll go 16-9 in favor of the Vikes. But you guys, let me know your score predictions down below. We'll get on out of here. Let's go, Vikes. What's up, Dan Mad? Roger Bong in the building. What's going on? Tom Man, the Buckeye in the house. Stranger Things finale also comes out tomorrow. I know. I will say, I know season 5, volume 2, people had their problems with it. And I did too. I got a feeling they're going to land this plane. Maybe I'm just being too optimistic. I think Stranger Things is going to land this plane here. We'll see. But again, we got one more mailbag coming up. So get those questions in there. Hashtag Vikings or Super Chat to get up on the show. Get those questions in there. Whatever you guys want to talk about. Could be about Stranger Things. Could be about whatever. Anything you guys want to talk about, we'll break it down. Mason, who knows? I traded for Joe Burrow and Madden for 4 firsts, J.J. McCarthy and Josh Oliver. Does Madden allow you to trade 4 years of first-round picks? I don't know. I'm just pissed off about this game Sunday. This should be for the 7th seed in the NFC, man. This should be for the 7th seed in the NFC. The Vikings just – no. You know what this is? I blame Dylan and his Dallas Cowboys. That stupid scoreboard operator. It's so funny how I made such a big deal about that early on in the season. Now that's kind of the reason why this is going to come back to bite the Vikings. You like dad jokes? I got one for you. Hit me. Waiting for my Cubbies to sign someone meaningful in free agency? Me too. Alex Bregman, come on down to Chicago. We did get a couple of bullpen guys, which was good. Dylan's a Yanks fan. Who's your top guy right now, Dylan? Or just like free agent guy? Bellinger, go get Belly. Do you think the Vikings have a top 3 special teams unit in the league? No, absolutely not. Maybe as a whole, I think they actually, maybe not top 3. I think they're top 10. It's just Miles Price. That dude he's good. He's electric, but number 1 is the New York Jets. Funny enough. What did the paper say to the pen? I don't know. What did the paper say to the pen? Who's better, Will or Aubrey? Will Reichard. What did the paper say to the pen? That's a tough one. I don't know. PK, you got me on a cliffhanger right now. You better let me know. Will got snubbed. Yes, he did. Will Reichard got snubbed. Sam Vance came in. Appreciate you. Right on. Okay. All right. That's good. I like that, PK. That was good vibes heading into this final mailbag of 2025. That was good. Lego Fellow got a kick out of that. Seriously, thank you guys so much. All the support in 2025 has been awesome. The fact that this channel is closing in here on 69,000 subscribers is pretty freaking cool. I think we can hit that this weekend. You guys are the best. And I know it's been a long year. It is what it is. See, I'm ready for the offseason, Lego Fellow. I'm ready to dive into how the Vikings can get back to the playoffs. Will to win Reichard. Will the thrill. Pat, are you a Michigan fan? If so, me too. Also, Michigan is killing it in college basketball. Michigan looks great. I think they have 7 games of scoring 100-plus this season. That one Lindenberg guy, the 6'10", light-skinned dude, he's an absolute stud. I'm more of a Michigan college football fan. I did go to Xavier University, a small Big East school, so I do ride out with the Muskies but we'll see. Hopefully, yeah, Lego fell. Hopefully Joe Burrow's a Viking. But let's dive into this next mailbag. I do want to talk about a certain Ravens quarterback here, but let's talk about it. We got a mailbag for you guys coming up on today's edition of Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman. We're going to start off with the Bro Show 12 asking a question saying, would you trade for Lamar Jackson? Did you see The Athletic mention the Vikings? Yeah, I think that was Mike Sando who connected the Vikings to Lamar. And the comparison he made was to Luka Doncic and the Dallas Mavericks when he got traded to the Lakers. Where, remember, there was a lot of rumbling around Dallas where it's like, hey, they don't love the shape Luka's in. They don't love his drinking habits or smoking habits. And now you're starting to see this article come out by Mike Preston of the Baltimore Sun, which some Ravens fans don't necessarily think this guy is the most credible. I don't know. But there's definitely a lot of smoke in Baltimore. And the Vikings, they got connected to Lamar Jackson. Now, would I trade for him? Absolutely. The Vikings are in a spot where they can get aggressive for a quarterback. Because if you were trading for Lamar Jackson, it's not like you're going to ask him to step in and be like a culture changer and completely take this team from the ground and take them to the top. The Vikings are middle of the pack. They just need that elite quarterback. And if they got a guy like Lamar Jackson with Jefferson, all the weapons they have, Flores and that defense, they would be good. How much would I give up? I give up a couple first. I give up Grenard. Maybe you give up a guy like Addison. I would do what it takes to go get a guy like Lamar Jackson. But those two AFC North quarterbacks, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, if there are rumors around them this offseason, the Vikings will be connected. So I know a lot of you guys don't like rumors because rumors are just smoke at the end of the day. The Vikings are going to be a big rumor team this offseason. It should be fun for content on my end. Would I trade for them? Absolutely. SKOL Soul coming in saying, who is your Mount Rushmore Vikings players if they do have a Mount Rushmore up there? I think that's AP, Jefferson. Okay, so I'll go my Mount Rushmore. And you guys, please, let me know your Mount Rushmore down below. So you got 4 options here. I was born in 1999, so I'll go, I'm not going to include, whoops, I just dropped my headphones on the ground. I'm not going to go like John Randall or any of the guys from the Purple People Eaters. I'll go Adrian Peterson. He asked me on there. I think Randy Moss, I'll still throw him on there for me, even though I didn't really get the full Randy Moss experience. But I'll go Randy, Adrian Peterson. I think Jefferson's got to be on there. Then my 4th spot, Harrison Smith comes to mind. Kirk Cousins. I think I'll go Harrison Smith. I think that'll be my 4. I'm going to go Harrison Smith, Randy Moss, Adrian Peterson, Justin Jefferson. But all you older Vikings fans that watch today's show, let me know your Mount Rushmore of Vikings players. Sam King Edits Vance coming in with a $5 super chat. Appreciate you, Brody. If you guys could, give me a SKOL Sam down below. As he says, do you believe that J.J. McCarthy can stay healthy? It's kind of a tough question. He has shown me nothing that would make me believe that he can stay healthy. That's for sure, as he has had a torn meniscus, high ankle sprain, fracture in his throwing hand, a concussion. He has had a bunch of different injuries. So do I have anything just to believe that he can stay healthy? No, but also, even though he is injury prone right now, I don't think he's going to be injury prone throughout his entire career. Once he grows up a little more, he gets more weight on that frame, I think he'll be able to, withstand the physicality of the NFL play. So do I believe he can? I think he can. Maybe that's just wishful thinking on my end. But, there's no doubt he hasn't shown me anything right now that, he fully can stay healthy. Uncle Paul, what's going on? If Flo gets the head coaching job for the Vikings, who can we bring in as an offensive coordinator to match his style? Would definitely be a more physical team. Love this question, Uncle Paul. So in this hypothetical world, don't think it's going to happen where the Vikings let go of KOC and promote Flores, but who they want to bring in as offensive coordinator? I mean, the number one name that comes to mind would be a guy like Brian Dable. maybe Dable. Like, listen, if this were the situation, if you're a guy like Dable and you could go take J.J. McCarthy and make him a serviceable starter, that would be sick. What about a Josh McCown? Josh McCown's been in the cycle for head coaching jobs. I could see him being a possibility. I don't know, though. This is a tough one. You know who it should be? Oh, I can't believe I'm just thinking about this. Shout out to me. Grant Udinsky. He's with the Jags right now. He gets a lot of credit. He's their offensive coordinator, but he's not their play caller. That's Liam Cohn. If you could tell me that was Brian Flores, Grant Udinsky, McCown stays as the quarterback coach, let's just say maybe you trade Kevin O'Connell for a first-round picker or something, I would have some interest. But Uncle Paul, great question. Cole J.A. 2012 going on. Do you think the Vikings have a top 3 special teams unit in the league? Probably not top 3. I mean, obviously Will Reichert and Ryan Wright have been amazing this season for Minnesota. I would probably say they're top 10, but you also, we got to remember, there's been a lot of brutal turnovers for the special teams this season. Miles Price has been great, but he puts the ball on the deck way too much. As a returner, I'd rather have a returner who never fumbles, but you don't get the explosive plays, compared to a guy like Miles Price where you get the explosive chunk plays every once in a while, but you also have the gaffes. Now, maybe Miles Price, next year, if he can kind of shore up that part of being a returner, yeah, I would have some interest. This week against the Packers, let's get Miles Price involved in the offense a little more. Just get him maybe a jet sweep or something, or get him some little gadget play just to see how he could look within this offense as a wide receiver. Just maybe make his roster spot a little more valuable. Because I definitely think he'll be on the team next season. But you know who I miss is actually Jet right now, and that's Kene Wangu. I miss seeing him return kicks. This guy's awesome. Never fumbles. He's got the explosive ability. But top 3 in the league, probably not. I'd probably go more top 10. But appreciate you, Cole. All right. Let's get a little negative here. Even though one of my New Year's resolutions around the Minnesota Vikings is being more positive around this football team. You guys, let me know your thoughts on this. What is your least favorite memory from this season? You got a lot to choose from. I think for me, if I'm just thinking one singular game, it's got to be the Seahawks game, where you went into Seattle, you got shut out for the first time since 2007. Darnold didn't even play that good, but the Seahawks just walked into a win. Kevin O'Connell was horrible in that game. Justin Jefferson, he went catchless for the first 3.5 quarters. I'd probably go Seattle. That game. You could also go second half against Green Bay. That was horrible. Maybe in that Bears loss, that was really bad. You guys let me know. What is your least favorite memory from this season? I'll get to more questions here in a second, but today's episode of Vikings Now is brought to you by Prize Picks. Whether you're starting a new routine or making players' picks for the first time, trying something new can be hard. But in life and on Prize Picks, it always feels good to be right. With high pressure, playoff matchups every weekend, and elite hoops action almost every night, the action never stops, and Prize Picks lets you take control. So download the Prize Picks app today. Plug in that promo code, CLNS, get hooked up with $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. And Prize Picks has a new feature called Early Payouts. So if your lineup gets off to a hot start, you have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. You guys can find your community on Prize Picks with the new social feeds feature. You can share Prize Picks with your friends and copy lineups from winners with one single click. Copy lineups you like or use them as inspiration for your own picks. So download the Prize Picks app today. Plug in promo code CLNS. Get hooked up with $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Shout out to Prize Picks for sponsoring today's show. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Ghost, what's going on? Do you think we should start JJ or bring in a veteran? I think the Vikings have 2 options at the quarterback position. You either go big game hunting, where you go out there and you get a Joe Burrow, a Lamar Jackson. But if you can't go big game hunting and those guys aren't available, say you ride out with JJ. Because even I was thinking about a guy like Baker Mayfield, a way better quarterback than McCarthy at this point in their careers. I would still rather ride out with JJ. Because let's just say you ride out with JJ. He's terrible. Okay, you probably got a high draft pick next year where you can just reset. Now, you also got to consider, all right, well, if you ride out with JJ, he's a disaster. A guy like Justin Jefferson's probably going to want out, and that's kind of the risk you're going to have to take. But I don't want the Vikings playing this middle-of-the-road BS that they've been playing over the last couple of years, where it's like, hey, you're not good enough to compete for a Super Bowl. You're not bad enough to get a top pick. Where like the Vikings, for them going in that direction, it would be a Kirk Cousins. It would be a Mac Jones. Like if they view those two guys as a quarterback option this offseason, I'll be pretty furious. So 2 options for me, big game hunting, ride out with J.J. McCarthy. Big O, great question. Thoughts on Darnold playing for the number 1 seed again? I don't know how you guys feel. I am rooting for Sam Darnold hard in the playoffs. I hope he smacks San Francisco. I hope he goes to the Super Bowl. I hope he hoists the Lombardi Trophy. Even though that would suck so much to watch that happen, that would be sticking it to the Vikings organization. Because you don't have the offseason that they had, where you let a guy that threw 35 touchdowns walk out the door without big-time ramifications. I'm rooting for Darnold. Darnold hasn't been good as of late. I think he's got 8 touchdowns, 8 picks in his last certain amount of games. So clearly he hasn't been the guy that kind of lit up the NFL world again back in September. But we'll see. I think Darnold's going to have a good postseason this year. Now, if he goes, I will say I'll feel so bad for Darnold. If he plays for the number 1 seed, loses first round of the playoffs again, that would stink. But I'm rooting for him. Braxton saying, how do you think the Vikings can get the ball to Justin Jefferson and score more than 1 touchdown? I mean, I think it's funny if you look back, and I'm sure everybody can attest to this that's been watching the Vikings this season. Like the last couple of months, they've been trying to force feed this guy in the red zone. Like I still remember that Cowboys game. Like they were trying to get Jefferson a touchdown. Like, I mean, a fish needs water. It has been pretty funny to watch. So clearly they've been making an effort. Now Jefferson's also kind of gotten unlucky. Like he dropped that 1 touchdown against Dallas. He scored that 1 touchdown, but it was called back because of an illegal motion. How to get him the ball more? I don't know. Watch Puka Nacua in the Rams offense. Line him up in the slot, line him up outside, line him up wherever. KOC knows how to get Jefferson the football. I just think him not getting the production as we've seen is more on Kevin O'Connell. But we'll see. Or not on Kevin O'Connell, more on the quarterback play. Dan Mad, a lot of penalties this year. Don't you think we need more physical play and discipline? Yeah, I mean, that's been a huge issue with the Vikings. You know, they have looked like this season, and why I am, maybe not as high on Kevin O'Connell as other people are, is because they have looked like a poorly coached team this season, which I never thought I would say. Because, I mean, heading into this season, where would Kevin O'Connell rank on the power rankings of head coaches? Like, you would still take Andy Reid, you would still take Sean McVay, but I could make an argument Kevin O'Connell was 3rd. Now, this year, like, he's been lapped by guys like DeMeco Ryans, Ben Johnson, Mike McDonald, Liam Cohen. Like, I'm sure some people take Liam Cohen over him. So we'll see. We'll see. I mean, definitely got to clean it up. Need more discipline. Need more physical play. I'm with you 100%. But, hey, I appreciate all of you guys for tuning in today. Hit me with a SKOL down below in the comment section if you guys watch this entire video. We'll get on out of here. As always, SKOL Vikes. All righty. Appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. You guys are the best. Enjoy the New Year's. We are going to get on out of here. My New Year's resolutions. Be more positive about the Vikings. Get you guys better content. And when the season comes around in 2026, I'm going to try my best to be less reactionary. I'm going to try to be less prisoner of the moment, think bigger picture. It's hard with what we do, making daily videos, but that's going to be a couple of my New Year's goals for you guys. And I really do appreciate all the support on the channel, man. Disastrous season. Vikings fans are in shambles. Like, I see it across the board. Like, just support your content creators. Be nice to them. Like, I see the comments I get. I see the comments other Vikings YouTubers get. It is a bloodbath right now in Vikings land, and as it probably should be. Like, a lot of us are wrong on where this team was going to go. So, listen, I appreciate all of you guys. Reed Southern, I'm so bored. Braxton, Lego Fella, Elder, all of you guys have been tuning in all year long. Shout out to all of y'all, but we're getting out of here. As always, SKOL Vikes.